In Panama City?
Yes.
Interesting.
That was in Hamodia.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's a nice
Interesting.
Syrian community.
Syrian community, that's what they told me, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very good. Okay, everyone have a copy? Good. Okay, so tonight and tomorrow is Tu B'av. Tu B'av is the 15th day of Av. Now, if you were to take a poll amongst Jews, or really anybody, right, and ask them which days are you familiar with, and which days are you not familiar with, chances are they would not put Yom Kippur and Tu B'av on the same list. Yet, the Mishnah in fact says that these two are a pair, are a duo, and a duo for a very interesting reason. So on the Gemara, I have it both in Hebrew on this side, and those who prefer, I also have the English translation on the back side of the same page. Okay? So where I bracketed it off towards the top over here, we'll begin. So the idea is that we will work through what the Gemara, what the Talmud tells us about Tu B'av. Dov, are we up and running? We are. Good. Thank you. Okay, so the Gemara, the Talmud speaks about it. Gemara is in Tanis, Daf Lamed Amud Bet, right, page 30b, and we begin. Amar Rav Shimon ben Gamliel, Lo hayu yomim tovim Yisroel. There were not good days for Yisrael. Ke? No other days are as good for Yisrael like Chamisha Asar B'av, the 15th day of Av, Uki Yom Kippurim, and Yom Kippur. So we have a short list of the best days for Israel. We've got Yom Kippur and Tu B'av. Interesting, the order is first Tu B'av and then Yom Kippur. Right? Now, okay. Chronologically, I guess if we're starting with Nisan, then that does come first. The Gemara says, Bishlom Yom Kippurim, it is good. I understand why Yom Kippur is considered a good day, a Yom Tov Yisrael. Mishum di'it be slicha umechila. Yom Kippur has a very nice resume. It is a day of slicha umechila, of cleansing and forgiveness and cleansing. And Yom Shenitnu Bo Luchot Ha'acharonot, right? And that, of course, is intimately linked to the fact that it's the day that we received the second Luchot, the second tablets, right? By the calendar, Moshe ascended Mount Sinai after the 6th of Sivan, when we all heard the 10 Commandments. Moshe was there for 40 days. Moshe came down with the first tablets and saw the Egel, saw the golden calf, and shattered those tablets. That was on Shiv Asar B'Tammuz, the not immediate fast day, but the fast day before that. Then Moshe then ran shuttle diplomacy between God and the nation to get us back up to snuff, back up to the level for the next 40 days. Rosh Chodesh Elul, Moshe reascended Mount Sinai, and the count of 40 days began again. Last time we had erred with our count of 40 days, and this time they blew the shofar every day in order to keep a tally. And that is why, one of the reasons why we start blowing the shofar on Rosh Chodesh Elul. 40 days later, Moshe came down with the Luchot Shniyot, with the second Luchot, the second tablets. 40 days later from Rosh Chodesh Elul is Yom Kippur. He came down with a message of Salachti. You have been forgiven. The very receiving of the Luchot was testimony to the relationship having been restored.
It's funny that they blew the shofar not to blow up.
Okay, Dov. All right. So I understand the Gemara says that Yom Kippur, which has A, Slicho Mechila, and B, the Luchot Achronot, and those two, as we mentioned, are actually connected. I understand why that is called a Yom Tov L'Yisrael. Why that is a good day, an auspicious good day for Yisroel. Ella, but Tu B'av, the date of the 15th day of Av, Maihi, Mazeh, was is dus? What is it? Can I say it in Spanish?
¿Qué es esto?
¿Qué es esto?
¿Qué es esto?
¿Qué es esto? What is it? Maihi. What is Tu B'av? And we're going to have 6 different explanations, and it's not necessarily one arguing on the other. We'll say 6 different aspects or components or events that are linked to Tu B'av, making it such a glorious day. Rabbi Yehuda Amar Shmuel. The first one, Rabbi Yehuda said the name of Shmuel, Yom Shehutru Shvatim Lavo Zeh Bazeh. It was the day that the tribes were allowed to marry one another. What is going on over here? So you have Chumashim. You might need to look on a couple at the end of Parsha Masa, I believe it was. Yeah, if you turn to page 932 in the Chumash, that is Bamidbar Perek Lamed Vav Pasuk Aleph. Earlier on, we had the Benot Tzlaf. We had the daughters of Tzlaf approaching Moshe, saying, "Our father died, leaving no children. Okay, why should we lose out?" And therefore Moshe said, "Well, let me hear what Hashem has to say about this." Moshe brought their mishpat to Hashem, and the response was that they will receive the portion, and that readjusted, but with that was presented to us the order of inheritance. That first it goes to the sons. If there are no sons, it goes to the daughters. And I always like to point out that people hear this and don't understand it and think, "Oh, that's so cruel to the girls. Why do the boys get everything and the girls get nothing?" The truth is that for the boys, it's a roll of the dice. The girls are taken care of. Meaning, one of the conditions of the ketubah, the Tanai ketubah, is that any of the daughters will be supported until they get married. Now, the same way that when a person dies, if there are any outstanding loans or responsibilities, the estate first takes care of that before there is any division amongst the heirs. So too, when the father dies, the first thing is money is set aside to take care of the girls until they are married. No money is set aside for the boys. If that's all the money there is, then the girls are taken care of until they are married, and the boys get absolutely nothing. They will have to go door to door to collect money for themselves. Once the girls are taken care of, then anything that's left in the estate will be divided amongst the heirs. The heirs will be the boys. So again, that's why I said the boys is a roll of the dice. They might make out like bandits. They might end up having nothing. The girls are taken care of. Okay. But the ruling given to the Benot Tzlaf is that they would inherit the portion of their father, which is fine, except that had some consequences which the tribe of Menashe was concerned about. Okay? Tzlafchad and his daughters were from the tribe of Menashe. So in 932 we find, chapter 36, Lamed Vav, we find that the heads of Menashe approaching Moshe. And they said, Hashem tziva the goal of Yisroel. God has commanded that the land of Israel be given out through the lots to the different tribes of Israel. And God has commanded to give the Nachala Tzlavchad Achinu, to give the Nachala, the portion of Tzlavchad, our brother, to his daughters. That's fine, except the problem will be if they will marry one of the other tribes of Israel, then the religion follows the mother. The tribe follows the father. Lemishbechotam lebeit avotam is what's written. The family goes according to the father. So now that's going to become part of the husband's estate. His children who will inherit these parents have the same tribal affiliation as the father, and therefore we, the tribe of Menashe, stand to lose this ground, right? It's not ours, it belongs to the individual of the tribe, but it's going to be lost from our tribe to a different tribe. When we go Nachlatenu Yigareya, it'll be added on, right? It'll be added on to the tribe that they will marry, be subtracted from the lot of our inheritance. Okay? That was their concern. Pasuk Hey, Moshe commanded the children of Israel, saying, they're speaking well. This is what God tells the daughters of Tzlavchad. You can marry whoever you want as long as, but it's got to be from the tribe of your father. So the daughters of Tzlavchad were commanded that they could only marry within the tribe of their father, within the tribe of Menashe.
That's if they want to keep that portion of land, or just absolutely?
They got that portion of land.
No, but so that they could walk away from the portion of land and go...
I don't know if that was really offered. You know, they had advocated valiantly for these portions of land, right? I don't think it was on the table, forfeit the land or this. It was a given that they had the land was theirs, and now it was a matter of keeping that land in the tribe. Here we mean literally not the tribe, but the 1/12 tribe. How are you?
So that would mean they would marry cousins.
They would, we're all cousins, though, first cousin, second cousin, third cousin, fourth cousin, fifth cousin. We're all cousins, right? Yes. Okay. Now, Velo Tisov Nachala, page 935. The inheritance of the children of Israel shall not make the rounds from tribe to tribe. Rather, the children of Israel shall cleave every man to the inheritance of the tribe of his fathers. Every daughter who inherits an inheritance of the tribes of the children of Israel should become the wife of someone from a family or a father's tribe, so that every one of the children of Israel will inherit the inheritance of his fathers. Now, once you get to Pasuk Chet, it's not so clear. Are we only talking to B'nos Tzlavchad? Are we only talking to the daughters of Tzlavchad? Are we only talking to that generation? Or is this a rule going forward? Is it going to be this sectarianism that every tribe marries within their own specific tribe? So the Gemara says that, let's go back to our Gemara now. So Tu B'av, the 15th day of Av, is the day that this ruling was given. Yom Shehutru Shvatim Lavo Zeh B'zeh. The tribes are allowed to marry one another. Realize otherwise, let's say a girl has brothers. So she can marry whoever she wants, right? Because she's not inheriting the land from her father. But who knows? Maybe she'll be married, and then heaven forbid, something happens to her brother. All of a sudden now, she is the inheritor, but she's married to someone else, right? It can get very, very, very complicated. My darosh, what did they darshan? How did they derive this from the psukim? Zeh hadavar asher tziva Hashem libnot tzlavchad. That's what the pasuk had said back before. That was pasuk vav. Zeh hadavar. This is the matter. When we have a seemingly extra zeh, this is the matter. It comes to limit. Asher tziva Hashem libnot tzlavchad. That was commanded to the daughters of Tzlavchad. Davar zeh, the Gemara says, lo yeh noeg ella b'dor zeh. So it's not only the daughters of Tzlafchad, but it's not everyone for all generations. It's that entire generation of the daughters of Tzlafchad. When the land was being freshly distributed, that is where we have this restriction that any girl who is in line to inherit must only marry within her tribe. But beyond that, then everyone can marry everyone. So all of a sudden, J-Date, Saw You at Sinai, all of these sites, the Babylonian dating sites, they all exploded at that point. Because whereas before then, how are you? Before then, everyone, or they were unsure, are they limited to 1/12, to one of the 12 tribes? At that point, the lines were opened up, and that was a day of tremendous simcha. Now, being that this is a marriage-related simcha, and the ruling was clarified on Tu B'av, therefore we understand that Tu B'av ended up becoming a day that was set aside somewhat for marriages. That the girls would go out to the field, and the boys would go out to the field, and they would find their prospective shidduch. Okay? So number one is that there was this simcha, this marriage-related simcha, that they were able to get lavo bekal. They could, that they could marry any girl. Right? There was cross-tribe marriages was not considered to be intermarriage. Let's put it like that. That was considered perfectly allowed. That's number one.
So that happened.
It was on Tu B'av that this ruling was reached.
How did that happen in a specific day?
When?
That is when the Beit Din or the Rabbanim convened to work this out once and for all, right? And that, exactly historically when it was this already in the time of Moshe, or was it? Well, not the time of Moshe. They hadn't entered Israel yet, right? Exactly when, I'm not sure. But, I am sure. It was Tu B'av. Which year, I'm not sure.
But Rabbi,
Yes.
during the Sinai or once in the land?
I'm sorry?
During the Sinai or once in the land?
This is talking about in the land.
In the land,
Yes.
because of the vineyards. Because they didn't.
Because of the field, all the
Exactly.
lands. Yes. Yes.
So once in the land, so not during the time of Moshe.
Correct. He didn't make it into the land. Correct.
Excuse me, I wasn't so clear.
Get a field.
Do they first have to ask to find somebody within the tribe before they can look outside the tribe?
Who? The daughters of
Sure.
Tzlafchad?
Anybody.
Wait, that generation had to, if a girl was inheriting, had to be within the tribe.
Right, but then
After that,
afterwards-
no, there's no preference.
You don't have to look at your tribe first and then the rest
No,
of them.
there is no preference
Okay.
of your tribe over another tribe.
Okay.
So-
Once we're beyond that generation.
Okay.
So a Reubenite and a Simeonite could be
Correct.
unmarried, but not a Levite.
But only
What
from-
about the Levites?
Levites also.
It's the Kohanim that have
Kohanim.
the
A
different-
Kohen has certain restrictions, but it's not a tribal restriction.
Yeah, that's true.
He has restrictions in terms of divorcees, right? That's where he has his restrictions.
But a Cohen has to marry within the Kohanim.
No.
No,
It
no.
can be anything, okay.
Right. Yes.
I thought that a Levite had to marry another.
Nope.
No.
Nope. 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 Yeah. Again, Kohen has certain restrictions. The Kohen Gadol, the high priest, has even more restrictions, right? But it's not tribal restrictions. Now, the Gemara does say that some of the Kohanim would want to marry a Bat Kohen, right? But that was by the daughter of a Kohen. But that was a preference that is not a halachic requirement in any way.
Okay.
Okay. Yes.
So, in the case that you stated where, so this started with the generation of the daughters of Zelophehad, the grandchildren.
The daughters of Tzlafchad.
Right. That
Why
generation
saying
had
the
to-
grandchildren?
had to marry within their tribe.
Correct.
The grandchildren could marry out.
Correct.
Okay, so
And the
Say-
children could marry out.
Well, she means Slachad's children. Slachad's grandchildren, is what she meant.
Grand-
so
I see
in
what you-
Slafet's generation, oh well, then it wasn't
It didn't
an issue.
apply.
Okay,
In Donna's
got it.
generation.
Yeah.
Okay, Amar Rav Yosef, number 2, both in the Hebrew and the English. Amar Rav Yosef Nachman, Yom Shehutar Shevet Binyamin Lavo Bekahal. Oh, a tragic, horrific episode in Jewish history. This is the day that the tribe of Binyamin was permitted to enter into the Kahal. And this is at the end of the book of Shoftim. We have the horrific incident, the Sodom and Gomorrah-like incident of Pilegesh Begiva. A man is traveling with a Pilegesh, with a concubine, and no one takes him in. And finally he comes to Giva, which is a part of the tribe of Binyamin. And finally they take him in, someone takes him in, and they surround the house, and they send out the concubine, and she is violated repeatedly, and in the end she dies. And in order to, then all the tribes come up against Binyamin and say, what is going on over here? What type of sickening town is in your midst? And Binyamin, instead of rallying against this cancer in their midst, Binyamin protected. And it ended up being the 11 tribes going to battle against Binyamin. And we learn that an oath was made not to marry, not to give any of their children, any of their daughters to the tribe of Binyamin. And Binyamin in this battle had been almost decimated. And then they reached a point, Parak Chaf Aleph, I believe it is. Give me 1 second. Yeah. V'Yisroel nishba b'mitzvah, the man of Israel had sworn a mitzvah saying, Ish min lo yitain bito livin yamin liisha. Right? No one should give his daughter to Binyamin as a wife, to the tribe of Binyamin as a wife. And at this point, they were at risk of one of the tribes of Israel being cut off. And they cried. And they cried. And they said, why could this, Lama Hashem Elokei Yisrael Haytah Zopi, so why should this be in Israel? Li'ipaked hayom Yisrael shevet echad, that there be one tribe missing from Israel. And there was a town called Yavesh Gilad. Yavesh Gilad had not come up as part of the battle, and Yavesh Gilad was therefore not part of the oath. And the daughters, they permitted the daughters of Yavesh Gilad to marry the men who were remaining from the tribe of Binyamin, and that way the tribe of Binyamin was not cut off. Let's see it inside. Yom Shehutar Shevet Binyamin L'Vakal Shenemar V'Ish Yisrael Nishba Mitzvah Limar Each Man Lo Yitain Bito LeBinyamin Liisha. They had sworn a mitzvah saying no man should give of his daughter to Binyamin as a wife. My Derosh Amarav Mimenu V'Lo Mi Banenu. Rashi explains Mimenu Miyutu. Mimenu Lo Yitain Bito V'Nin Lo Gazru Elamehem Avli V'Nehem Lo Gazru. Their children they couldn't give, but Mibenehem, from their children, the Gezerah did not apply. So again, they made a drasha, they darshaned to say that it would be allowed. Once again, this is a marriage and that ruling was issued on Tu B'av. Once again, it is a marriage-related ruling. Tu B'av became this Yom Tov, which again was connected to marriage. The other reasons we're going to soon see are not as marriage connected. Rabbi Rechona Amrav Yochanan, number 3, Yom Shekalu Bo Mete Midbar. That was the day. Tu B'av is the day that they understood that all of those that had been decreed upon them, they'd be dying in the Midbar, that was completed. They would no longer be dying in the Midbar. The Gezerah was complete. Rashi, if you look aside in the Rashi, those who have the Hebrew, look, otherwise just listen as I'll translate it. Right over into the Rashi on the left-hand side. Shekolo Mete Midbar. The time we looked in the bright to call Arvim Shana Midbar. The 40 years they were in the Midbar. Kol Erev Tisha B'av. Every Erev Tisha B'av, Haya Kruz Yotzei. The announcement went out from Omer saying, Se'ul Achbor, go out and dig your grave. Everyone go out and dig a grave. V'yashan bo, and he would lie down to sleep in that grave the night of Tisha B'av. Shema Yamut Kodem Shiachbor, lest the person would die before his grave would be dug for him. Ulamachar, the next day on Tisha B'av, Hakruz Yotzei V'korei, the announcement would go out calling, Yibadlu Chayim and Ametim, separate the living from amongst the dead. And all those who were still alive the next morning, they would get up. Whoever was alive would get up and walk out. They would do that every year. On the 40th year, Asu, they did it. And the next day, Amdu Kulam Chayim.
No one got up.
Everyone got up.
Oh.
They came in Shiro Kach when they saw that Tamahu. They wondered, Amru, Shema Te'inu B'cheshbon HaChodesh. Maybe we're off on the calendar dates.
Yeah.
They kept going into the graves every night to sleep. Ad leil chamishasar, until the night of the 15th. What's significant about the night of the 15th? Ken Shiroshin into Mala haLevana b'Tetvav. The 15th of the Hebrew month is a lunar month. The 15th is the full moon. Once they saw that full moon, below Meitachaman, and no one had died, Yadu, they knew, Shecheshbon Chadash Mechuvan, their date calculation was in fact accurate. Ukvar Mem Shana Shel Gezerah Nishlamu. And the 40 years of the decree had been completed. Kavu Oto Ador La Oto Ayom Yom Tov. They made that day, which day? Tu B'av, the 15th of Av. They made that day into a Yom Tov. Okay, let's see inside. Yom Shekol Bo Meiti Midbar Da'amar Mar. Ad Shekol Meiti Midbar Lo Haya Dibur Moshe. Until the point that the deaths were completed, there was no dibor in Moshe. We'll explain this in a minute. There was no speech with Moshe. Shneimar, when all the people of that period had died, then Vaydaber Hashem Elai. God spoke to me. Elai haya hadibor. To me was the dibor. Now, actually, Rashi there points out that there were times that Hashem spoke to Moshe, Vaydaber Hashem Moshe. But the idea is, Vaydaber Hashem Elai, God spoke to me. When the Torah says God spoke Elai to me, that connotes a certain intimacy, a certain connection, intimate connection in the speech between Moshe and God. That is what had stopped, and that is what had resumed. When did it resume? At the point when they realized that everything was good, which of course was on Tu B'av. That is number 3. Ula Amar. Ula says, Yom Shebitel Hoshea ben Ela Pardasiot. Hoshea ben Ela was one of the kings of Israel. Now, he was trying a little bit of history. We had a united kingdom under David, also under his son Shlomo. When Shlomo died, his son Rechavam was taking over. The people approached Rechavam and they said, listen, your father was the world-renowned Solomon, King Shlomo, and the taxes were very high in order to maintain such a kingdom. Lower the taxes, it's too much for us now. Lower the taxes. He said, let me have 3 days to decide. He brought in his older advisors, the advisors who had been there for Shlomo. The older advisors said, you work with the people, they'll be your loyal subjects. they'll be devoted to you. Lower the taxes, acquiesce to their request. He called in his friends, the boys with a Z, right, his buddies, to ask them what he should do, and they said, "Oh, you have to seize the bull by the horns." They didn't actually say that. That's not where the expression comes from. But you got to take control. You got to show them who's boss, right? And you say to them, or what he actually said to them is, "My pinky is thicker than my father's thigh. If you thought that was a kingdom, just wait till you see what I have in store." All the people said thanks, but no thanks. And they broke apart. And 10 tribes left. The Gemara says from here we see the concept that the building, that the deconstruction of elders is actually building, and the building of the young is actually destruction. Meaning, the elders who told him, lower the taxes, that seemed to be deconstructing, that would have been binyan. That satira would have been binyan, would have been building. He would have been the king over all 12 tribes. The binyan of the Na'arim, the building of the youth, who said, no, you have to raise the taxes, that ended up being satira. That ended up diminishing his kingdom in a tremendous way. Now Yeravim is the king over 10 tribes, but he's concerned, he's afraid. They're all going to go to Yerushalayim comes the next holiday, and they're going to see Rechavam, the son of Shlomo. They're going to see Rechavam, the son of Shlomo, the son of David, sitting, because the only one who can sit in the courtyard, besides Kohanim when they're doing the service, but besides that, the one who could sit in the courtyard is a king who is the descendant of David. He was afraid they'll see Rechavam sitting, and he's standing like a common man, like the common folk, and they'll say, "We followed the wrong horse." Right? We don't have a real king. He was afraid that he would lose his kingdom. So what he did was he put up idols in Beit El and in Dan, and he set up officers, guards on the roads, not allowing us to return to Judah, to Yerushalayim, to the Beit HaMikdash, right? And that was the tremendous Chote Umachti. Yeravim is known as the one who sinned and caused others to sin. And that was the story of the kings of Israel until Hoshea ben Elah came along. Hoshea ben Elah came along, and what did he do? Shebitel Hoshea ben Elah Pardosiot. He took away those officers. Shahoshiv Yeravim Nevat ala Drachim. Shelo Yal Yisroel L'Regel. He took away those guards who Yeravim had set up on the roads to prevent Israel from ascending on the pilgrimage holidays. Now, he took away the guards, but what he should have done was eradicate the idolatry and get us all back in line. He didn't. He said, Le'eza sheyirtzu ya'alu. You want to go to Yerushalayim? Fair enough. You want to go to Dan and Beit El, to the calves that are set up over there? Also, fair enough. But, so he didn't go as far as he should have gone, but at least they had the option of traveling to Yerushalayim. He did this on Tu B'av. That is when he took away those guards. And therefore, that is reason number 4 that the Gemara gives why it was such a Yom Tov, such a good, happy day. Number 5, Rav Matna Amar. And this is Yom Shenitnu Harugi Beitar Likavura. What was the happiness of this day? And this is almost inconceivable. Bar Kochva led a revolt against the Romans, and his fortified stronghold was Beitar. Bar Kochva, many thought, Rabbi Akiva on that list, that Bar Kochva was Mashiach. Bar Kochva could have been Mashiach, that he was Mashiach. And this was going to be the defeat against the Romans and the ultimate geula, the ultimate redemption. He was defeated. He was killed. And the city of Beitar was wiped out, decimated. And at that point, you can only imagine the depression that the Jews were feeling. Here we are after the Churban, and we thought that now, even Rabbi Akiva thought, Rabbi Akiva thought that the time had come for the Geula, for the redemption, but it was wrong. Bar Kochba was not the Redeemer, it was not the Mashiach. And it was a tremendously depressing time. And there was a sense that, is God still with us or not? And they came back to Beitar, and they found that the bodies, it should have been a stench, an unimaginable stench of bodies strewn about rotting, and that all the bodies were still intact. The bodies were ready for burial. And they understood that in all of this destruction, the relationship with God was still there. God still cared. God still connected. And that day, Oto Yom, that day, Shenitnu Haruge Beitar Likvura, that day when the Haruge Beitar, those who had been killed in Beitar, were given for burial, Tiknu B'Yavne, they established in Yavne, which is where the sages were, they established the bracha Hatov V'Ametiv. Right, the fourth blessing, the rabbinic blessing that's added on to our Birkat HaMazon, to our grace after meals, is the bracha of Hatov V'Ametiv. He is good and he gives out good. And that is a true Rabbi Akiva view of the world, that we never give up. We don't give up, and we'll see the good in every situation. Hatov shelo hisrichu, God is good. The bodies did not decompose. Va'ametim, and He gives out good. Shenitnu lekvura, that the bodies were able to be then buried. Right? And once again, this is on Tu B'av. Lastly, number 6. Rabbi Rav Yosef to Amit Travayu Yom Shepasku Milichrot Eitzim Lema'aracha. The day that they stopped cutting wood to be used on the altar. There was the wood that was burned on the altar. That's when they stopped cutting the wood. Why is that? From Tu B'av and on, Tashash Kocha Shel Chama. The sun is no longer as strong. And they would not cut wood from that point on for the ma'aracha, for the wood arrangement, the pyre arrangement on the altar, because it would not dry out as well as we wanted it to dry out. Amrav Menashe v'karile yom tavar magal. They would call that the day of the breaking of the axe, meaning that they would put away that axe. Right? The axes, they would no longer be cutting. So why is that a day of simcha? Right? Cutting wood for the altar, that's a tremendous mitzvah. Right? That's preparations for the karbanot. Why is that a reason? I understand the first 5 are all reasons of simcha, of happiness. Why is this a day of happiness? So when after high school, I studied in Israel for 2 years. And then I went to the yeshiva in Baltimore, near Yisroel. At the time, Rav Ruderman Zatzal, blessed memory, was the Rosh Yeshiva. And one of my first days there, he gave a shmooze. A shmooze when the Rosh Yeshiva gives not a halachic talk, not a Talmudic talk, but an inspirational, musar, ethical talk. And he spoke about this Gemara. And he asked, what was the simcha? What was the happiness of this day? So he said, as great a mitzvah as it is to be cutting the wood for the altar, now that they're no longer cutting the wood for the altar, they have time to fully devote themselves to Torah study. And the simcha is, right, the mitzvah of Talmud Torah, we say after our morning blessings, after the blessings of Torah, Talmud Torah keneged kulam. The mitzvah of Talmud Torah is equal to all of the mitzvot. It is the greatest of the mitzvot. And therefore the simcha was that even though they were doing the tremendous mitzvah of preparation for the Beit HaMikdash, for the Mizbeach, for the altar, nevertheless now they could clear their calendars and set up their chavrutot, set up their study partners, set up their shiurim they're going to go to, set up their own personal list of things they need to study and learn and accomplish and know, and therefore that was the simcha of Tu B'av. So because of all of these, some marriage-related, some not marriage-related events of simcha that all seem to gather on the 15th of Av, that was relegated as the day of marriages, the day of engagements, and this simcha day for Bnei Yisroel. So
just like rabbis declared for Hanukkah, not necessarily a festival Yom Tov, but that you do some appropriately commemorating or special.
So we don't say Tachanun today at Mincha and tomorrow morning.
But why no festive meal? Like it seems like it's at least as happy as the time when you finish a tractate of Talmud.
Yeah. Well, we see now that not necessarily. Right, we see the tractate of Talmud is that much more. Right? It was.
But all collectively together.
Yeah, it wasn't established like that. Look, even Hanukkah, there's no obligation to have a Seudah.
Right.
Yeah. It's only Purim. Right? On a rabbinic level, it's only Purim, being that the miracle came about through the Seudah, the festive meal in the palace. Right. So we also have a festive meal, but there's no. Surprisingly, we're not always having meals.
But, so no Tachanun.
No one's stopping people from having
Yeah.
You can always have a nice meal.
Create your own.
Yeah.
Women should create their own.
Why only women?
Why not? Something Rosh Chodesh is.
Okay, but why exclude us men?
Then invite them in.
Why are we not invited?
Well, I didn't say the women shouldn't invite.
Oh, you want to prepare the food? Okay, that's up to you.
What they want, not what the men want.
So when the people were doing the
Thank you, Dove.
the 40 years that they were doing the burial.
Ten, מאוד חם, huh? Remind me of your name, I'm sorry.
Mine?
Yes. Michal, that's right.
Thank you.
Very good. Okay, so we are on Parshat Ekev, but we're going to jump, instead of starting right in the beginning, I want to try to get to Birkat HaMazon. Right? Ooh, that's what I need. Sorry, just one second. I want to pause that a second, though.
Oh, is this okay?